Major Padres trade update. We got to talk about Jake Cronenworth and his potential to be moved at the deadline as the Padres seek to fix the roster heading into the playoffs. What's going on, everybody? Christian Pedersen back with another episode of Padres Digest, the show where many of you like to remind us, I know nothing about baseball, and it's cool. I don't. I just like reacting and talking to baseball. That's how I got this job, just being a blathering face on YouTube. If you could hit subscribe, great. If not, no worries. All right, I want to talk about reports from Dennis Lin, an actual baseball person who knows more about the game than I do. And he is talking lately in some of his articles about how Jake Cronenworth is receiving interest from a lot of other teams. And okay, sure. Great. You know, in all of the Padres discussions for trades, there really only has been one name at the major league level that we have discussed a lot this year, and that is the trading of Dylan Cease. And Dylan Cease is someone that I think a lot of us have talked about wanting to trade just because he's not performing super well. But you can go up and down our timeline, and we've got a lot of different hypothetical videos on Jarren Duran and Kyle Stowers and Luis Roberts Jr. And that's why I say go subscribe. There's a bunch of stuff to check out. And in all of those videos and in all of the comments that you guys are dropping, a lot of the pieces are like trade Kolek and a minor leaguer and some international cash, and we've all really tiptoed around getting rid of any of the existing pieces of the Padres framework, other than wanting to get rid of Xander Bogaerts. And I think also, though, everybody says the qualifier of, I know his contract is huge, but let's get rid of Xander. In all of that, maybe it's time for some reverse reflection and looking at if the Padres are going to make like a big splash, could that big splash involve something like getting rid of an established piece of the San Diego Padres? And if you're going to get rid of an established piece of the San Diego Padres that is not a horrendously slumping Xander, which whole other video on the summer of Zan being back, like we can talk about that guy is starting to course correct there, but in reality, it might be time to talk about, is Cronenworth going to go? This is a list right here of like Jeff Passan's top people that the Padres have kind of been linked to. And in all of, maybe the first question, and drop a comment as we go through all of this, is, do you want to trade Cronenworth? Is Cronenworth even trading? Question 2 is anybody on this list worth Cronenworth? The Dennis Lin article talks about him receiving interest from teams, and I think that spans wider than this list. It is not necessarily like a one-to-one of, the teams with the guys that the Padres are looking for a Jake Cronenworth. It's more of larger picture. There are just teams that want a second baseman that fits into their roles that they need filled. And the Padres have a second baseman who could potentially want to be moved. This is where Jake's stats are right now. And again, I've seen in the comment section that just looking at this is me clearly not knowing baseball, because I don't analyze that Jake is really actually hitting 900 with runners on third base and Saturn to the left of Virgo and people of Ecuadorian descent sitting in row H. Like, in baseball, you can split the numbers a million different ways to find a way in which you want to view a certain player as good or bad or anything in between. And okay, so great. Jake Cronenworth, this is not me saying let's get rid of Jake Cronenworth. This is just me curious as to, is Cronenworth on that precipice of, is he as essential of a piece as we used to think he is? Because I would have said 2 or 3 years ago, the Crone zone was like, no trade, zero interest in getting rid of him. But now is something like this contract right here. Say it's the Yankees. It's one of the teams that Dennis Lin talks about in his article. Or any of those other squads that we can dish Cronenworth here. $12 million. He is 31, and that's kind of that kind of hit me too in the prepping for this video. I was like, man, where did the time fly? I know he didn't necessarily come up as a 20-year-old phenom, but I feel like Jake was just like a kid from Michigan out there just getting this contract 2 days ago, and now he's in his 30s. So he's in his 30s, but he's got fantastic team control, and I think there's squads out there that you could say this contract in exchange for like a reasonable haul. Like you could say, give me X, Y, and Z pieces that help. And maybe it's a multi-team thing where it's we'll send him to there, you send that to there, we get like I could see this being part of a larger picture trade or part of a series of trades that leads to, Cronenworth gets us some of this, clears out some of that to get us some of this, we give those pieces there. I don't even want to dive into that, but I do think it is kind of an interesting conversation starter to say taking $12 million off the books. Does $12 million off the books in exchange for some minor league prospects equal the ability to re-sign Arraez? Does it equal the ability to re-sign King? Does it equal the ability to re-sign Cease? And I don't know any of those answers, and I apologize if that makes you frustrated and say in the comment section, dog, you know nothing, you say nothing. Okay, I get it. On some of this, it is just speculation, but we don't know all of what AJ's doing. And some of it is that kind of 4D chess of maybe there's a perfect deal 1-to-1 out there, but also, like I'm saying, maybe the pain of saying goodbye to Cronenworth actually ends up being good for the Padres because they are able to plug in Iglesias and Arraez at second and in the aggregate reproduce these numbers, take, like I said, that $12 million off the books, load up on some prospects. Like if you can get Spencer Jones and a reliever from the Yankees and get some other guys that really help rebuild like the longer term health of the franchise, then I can entirely be talked into getting rid of Cronenworth. I even hate the phrase getting rid. I can entirely be talked into parting ways with Cronenworth because I feel like he's somebody who, like, this is the fan reaction value versus the actual like X's and O's. It's the scene in Moneyball where the manager is telling Billy Beane like, no, he's my first baseman. Billy Beane's like, no, you win with Hatterberg. You win with Hatterberg. I don't care if you like him. You win with him. Maybe there is a scenario out there where, yes, it is painful to part ways with a player like Cronenworth, who we really like, and he can go on to have great success at whatever that destination is, but it actually, in the long term, helps the San Diego Padres. Maybe getting rid of him also, though, ends up being massively colossally a failure because trading Cronenworth for prospects and then having it be like, oh, we thought that this little shenanigans was going to work. Maybe it all falls apart. So I'm just curious, where are you guys sitting right now as we close in on the trade deadline? This video's massive report is that I don't think that people would be poking around for Cronenworth if he was listed as a no trade. Like, I think that we would not see teams showing interest in Cronenworth if the word was out there that, like, it's not happening. So obviously AJ is at least willing to entertain deals. And I think AJ historically has been someone that plays everything so close to the vest that if he's if people are projecting out that there's even an opportunity for there, you know that he's at least run the numbers and has something in his back pocket that maybe we see it. This feels like if it's going to be a deal, it's going to be like a 13th hour, last minute, as the deadline is closing, he shoots off a boom, 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 and then Cronenworth is part of that storm. I don't think that Cronenworth gets moved. I don't think he's shopping Cronenworth. I don't think that this is him getting moved in advance, but it is interesting because all of the, or I shouldn't say all, but a mass amount of the trade packages that I have either discussed on this channel or heard discussed have been get rid of Cease because he's a failing superstar on an expiring contract, or get rid of minor league pieces. And it has not been a discussion of like, is there some part of this core that we need to dismantle to help retool? So I don't know, kind of interested in what you guys have to say, because I think that Cronenworth is just not something that we've had a ton of discourse on so far this season. So drop a comment, below. Let me know. Do you just, is Cronenworth a no trade for you? Are you willing to trade him? And if so, what do you need back for him? Do you think that there's anybody internally that can fill that second base position? Do you need, trading Cronenworth for a better second baseman doesn't feel like that's not something that I'm interested in. Let's keep Cronenworth, or let's dish him for globally three other pieces and some contract value. I'm rambling. I will stop. Drop a comment. Like I said at the beginning, if you could hit the subscribe button, it would be much appreciated. If not, no worries. I'll still be here talking baseball all year long. Talk to you guys soon.